Hi there, and Happy New Year! It's the 1st of January, how exciting. It does look like I'm at a school disco, but that's because our Christmas tree lights are still flickering. We're still enjoying the flicker until, I don't know when, until we can be bothered to move it. But today, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the book Appetite. And it's by Anita Cassidy, and my goodness, it's a stonker. It was actually a really good one to read sort of through the Christmas season and working up to New Year, because one of the appetites, there's three individuals that you follow very closely. One is kind of thinking about sex mostly. There's a lot of sex in this book. One is thinking about sort of food and how they eat and the impact that's having on their lives. And one of them is just feeling very dissatisfied with life and looking for change, like big change. Or they think they're looking for big change. And it's just an incredibly well composed book. Initially it seems as if we're just following these three people, very unconnected, and then very slowly you start to see how they do in fact have connections, and by the end we realise all three are connected in some way. It's fascinating. It's just really interesting. It's one of those books that brings up questions, makes you think about yourself, your life, what you need in your life to feel complete, to feel satisfaction, and how you can change it. What's quite interesting for that time of year is that often people want to, myself included, think about what they're eating and dieting and that sort of thing, and nutrition. There's loads of that in this book. It's a really interesting book from that perspective. As I said, there is quite a lot of sex in it, and some of it's quite violent. All consensual. I think it was all consensual, but still might be uncomfortable for some of the people. But it is written on the cover, so you can't pretend you didn't know it was coming. It's really, really good. I liked the ending. Two people sort of find some kind of resolution or their lives move in a positive direction by the end, and one person doesn't. One person sort of remains hungry, remains wanting that thing in their life, and I kind of like that, because I think if it had been too perfect and sort of everyone had skipped off into the sunset, that perhaps wouldn't have been. The book's very gritty and very realistic and very kind of human, and I think if there'd been that Disney ending for everybody, it wouldn't have felt authentic, given that the rest of the book is so lifelike, so normal, and I mean that in a good way. There are quite a few characters. There's obviously these three main people, and then each of them have a sort of two or three other people in their lives that you get to know. I thought the characters were just rather beautiful, but all flawed, and that's actually what I liked about them, because they were likeable. They had qualities that I admired or related to in some way, but they were also annoying and had quality, had things about that they were doing and decisions they were making that I didn't like at all. And I love that. I love that they were sort of whole beings, and that you could see that they were real in that way, in that sense that they had flaws. And the characters around them, although not necessarily essential, I mean the three dominant characters are dominant, but the characters around them are all really beautifully crafted. It's a really well written book, and Anita Cassidy also comes from my hometown, which is another reason I was kind of interested in reading it. She's also writing another book at the moment, and I will definitely be reading it, because I found it a really powerful book to read. It's strong. It doesn't sort of doesn't shy away from any of the issues that these obsessions bring, and I quite like that. I quite like that it was it was challenging to read in some places. It was a little bit uncomfortable to read in some places. I was shouting at a couple of the characters to just stop being stupid. It is quite a thick one. It did take me a little while to read, but there's nothing I would have taken out. There's nothing that I feel shouldn't have been in there. In fact, if anything, I would have been quite happy to have had a little bit more. about each of them. So it's a good read. It's a very engrossing read, and I can't see that anyone wouldn't enjoy it. Really, it really does have a bit of everything for everybody, and quite compelling, quite gripping. You want to know what's happening next and what will happen to each of them as they go about these changes that they're wanting to make. I really enjoyed some of the secondary characters. I preferred them, some of them, to the main ones, and that for me is really impressive in a book when the sort of secondary people that flitter in and out are just as interesting and just as memorable as the people that you're following in more depth. So it's a great book, and I'd really encourage you to read it. Happy New Year!